Okay, so this weekend we have a full moon in Sagittarius. This is a really important and powerful full moon. This is what we call once in a blue moon type of energy. Literally, it's made after times like this. That expression is. We had two full moons in the month of May. That's extremely rare. So this second full moon will be a blue moon. Full moons are all about catalyzing change. It's about making your comfort zone uncomfortable enough to push you out of the familiar, because we often think that the familiar is where we belong because we have a sense of comfort, even if people are usually uncomfortable in that sense of comfort. And why is that? Because we're meant to create, express, experience newness. Life is about creation, so when they say we're made in the image of our creator, I have no idea what people think that means. Honestly, I don't know how that gets interpreted, but for me, it means that we are not just created, but we are creators. And a lot of times people might think of this in terms of like artistry, like being artistic. And that is a huge form of creativity, of course. But this is also about creating new experiences that allow us to tap into different feelings, different feeling spaces. Sagittarius is about travel, but it's not only about physical travel, it's about mental travel, it's about astral travel, it's about um, etheric travel. So it's also about how we catapult ourselves onto new timelines by creating new experiences from gaining new wisdom. And wisdom is also something that we gain from our experiences, not just um, knowledge that you receive like in a classroom or something like that, because Sagittarius is also correlated to higher learning. So, and often through institutions. But our mind, our body, right? These are institutions as well. And Sag comes before Capricorn, which wants to create the matrix structures. It wants to create the worldly structures. Sag comes before this sign because it arrives before consciousness that overvalues social validation, comes into awareness. So when we're in Sag energy, we just came out of Scorpio, right? Just like we had the Scorpio full moon. So when we look at the 360, that wheel that has each sign has a little piece of the pie, right? 12 slices. And so Scorpio coming before Sag is all about transformation. And that transformation is rebirth. It is creating new life within one incarnation. It's like having many incarnations in one incarnation when you are willing to take on new perspectives. And release, when you are releasing the old, the the perspectives that were limited and weighed you down emotionally. So we just released those, whether we're looking at the zodiac wheel or whether we're looking at um, astrology in general, but also when we're looking at these transits in the month of May and what that's ushering in for us individually and collectively. So coming out of rebirth, which was catalyzed by being willing to let go of old perspectives, we are not only taking on new perspectives in Sag, we're creating new experiences that come after that rebirth. So, what do we have after we've been through like an ego death or something like this? Which an ego death, obviously, we need an ego, we have it for a reason. It is there to protect us, but we overuse it, we abuse it, and we abuse the ego to abuse ourselves. And what I mean by this is like, we rely so heavily on the ego that we end up blocking ourselves from having all types of experiences that we could have if we were not so stuck on what someone else is thinking, how this makes me look, you know, all of these things that have nothing to do with prioritizing how we feel. And so with these new experiences, um, that Sag is catalyzing right now with this um, full moon. It has a lot to do with this opposition that's happening not only to the sun in Gemini, but to Uranus in Gemini, right? Which is like a huge shift that the collective has just embarked on and will be experiencing for about the next 7 years. So we're in a new cycle. And that's on different levels because this full moon in Sag is also going to connect to another era shift that we've had this year, which is Saturn being in Aries and Neptune being in Aries. This full moon trines that energy. So it's going to help us propel forward our dreams, things that are in the realm of the unseen, but that we want to manifest. That's what is so this full moon is not just like, and it never really is that way. And that's a part of what I love about how I see astrology too. It's not just like a moment to catastrophize and to like fear monger and warn people about everything bad that can happen. But also specifically because this is a Sag full moon that's happening at the ninth degree, which is the Sag degree, is going to have so much good in store. It just depends on what you've been doing up until this point. But even if you learn during this time that what you've been doing up until this point has not been serving where you want to be, which is should be based on how you want to feel, um, you'll be seeing signs of what you should be starting to do. And you actually have been all month because starting at the beginning of the month with that Scorpio full moon, that was about learning what it is that you need to let go of. What is weighing you down emotionally? So let's get more into what this energy this weekend is specifically about. So, with the full moon opposing Uranus and Gemini, this full moon is about utilizing how you connect to break free and changing how you connect in bold ways. So, this opposition, Sagittarius is about freedom, it's about truth, it's about higher knowledge and wisdom, and it's about breaking free. So, just coming from that Scorpio energy, after a rebirth, your perspective is expanded. You don't have the same psychological limitations anymore. Scorpio rules the psyche. You don't have the same psychological limitations anymore. So now you're free to create new experiences if you allow yourself to be. So Sag is, it's half man. Its symbol is half human, half horse. The bottom half being a horse, and the human is an archer. It's pointing up at the sky with the bow and arrow. So it's reaching for the stars, right? It's reaching for possibilities that are beyond what we can conceive from our limited human perception. So this also ties into the shift that we're experiencing with the nodes, where we have the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo. So, with the North Node in Pisces, we're learning that we need to be moving toward trusting in the unseen, possibilities that are beyond what we can conceive and that are not necessarily logical and practical like Virgo energy, because that's a huge thing that everyone has been learning to let go of during this transit, has been how to stop thinking that everything that is valid makes sense, right? That it makes sense with your logical left brain, or that it's something, everything is something you can plan, everything is something you can strategize, everything is something that you can turn into some type of work, right? So Pisces wants us to just be present in the feeling. And Pisces and Sag are both connected to Jupiter. So they both want to really help us expand our world. And how we do that is through how our experiences will lead to new feelings, new experiences, new feelings. Okay. And so keep this in mind when it comes to this opposition that's happening with Uranus and Gemini, which is going to be all about how we connect and how we communicate and how we create and how to do these things in a way that is unapologetic. It is genuine self-expression. We have Pluto in Aquarius sextiling this moon. We have Jupiter getting ready to move into Leo later on. And so, again, this takes us back to expansion, making our worlds bigger. But we have to make ourselves bigger to be able to even belong in that type of world that you're trying to create. Like you have to be the person that belongs in it. You have to be the vibrational match for the reality that you're wanting to create. And it's not, this moon is not about thinking you know what you are creating. It's about tapping into what you're meant to be creating next that is new. And the more you can trust in what you don't know, but following your heart, following the feeling of what feels good, the further you will get in creating more and more deeply profound experiences for you, and the more of an adventure it will be. And this is a part of where the Aries aspect ties in. Because right now with Neptune and Neptune and Saturn being in Aries and that forming a trine to the moon and Sag, it's about having more of the tools, which in terms of Aries, the tool is really the mentality. Aries rules the head, Aries rules the ego. It's a very physical sign. So it wants to do things. It wants to be active. And it wants to do that so much so that it's not necessarily going to overthink it. It's just going to catapult into the world. That's why Aries is represented by the Fool in the tarot. And in the tarot, you see the Fool stepping off of a cliff because it's the one that's going to find out first. It's going to fuck around and find out. So, and then the rest of the crowd, the rest of the people can be like, "Oh, they fell off the cliff and they died." Or, "Oh, they stepped off the cliff and there was water down there. And there was a whole different civilization down there." And so it's about reaching new territory. And so now back to this opposition to Gemini. With this full moon opposing Uranus and Gemini, this is a transit of shaking shit up. This is a transit that doesn't want you to get overly comfortable with doing the same things. Are you not tired of doing the same things, getting the same results? Do you feel like you want to break free from your reality? Do you feel like you're stuck? Do you feel like you lack options? Do you lack perspective? Then it's time for you to start creating in a new way. And a huge part of how you're going to do this is through connecting to yourself, the world, whatever higher power you believe in a different way, right? So if you've been doing prayer all your life, and maybe you don't really prayer works, so maybe you don't subconsciously, you don't really believe in it, and it doesn't really get you any type of results. Maybe now it's time for you to go start spending time in nature and connecting with God in that way, or the universe, cosmos, source. Um, if you have been uh maybe you're someone who connects online a lot, but in real life you feel lonely. That's a common thing happening now. There's the loneliness epidemic, right? But yet they say that we're more connected than ever. But there's such a big difference between parasocial relationships and real relationships. There's a difference between superficial relationships and intimate relationships. And what those do for you, what feelings those cultivate, create different realities for you. And most importantly, it creates a reality that you don't feel the need to break free from because your reality is your truth. So therefore, it's freedom. And Sagittarius is about truth and it's about freedom. So, will you have the wisdom to look at what you've created thus far and be able to assess if it's been working for you or if it's not been working for you? And whether it has been working for you or it hasn't been working for you, it is still time to change. If it hasn't been working for you, obviously you need to make some changes that may really make you step out of your comfort zone. If what you've been doing has been working for you, it's time to just expand on that. Make it bigger, do more, make it brighter. Um, so for some people, it may mean that they get off social media altogether because they're disconnected from themselves. Maybe they take a social media break. For other people that haven't been using it, maybe they need to start using it, but follow the feeling and do what you feel will lead you to feelings of freedom. So we are done with the age of Pisces. We're done with people pleasing. We're done with self-doubt. We're done with falling for the illusions and the facades. We're done with the rose-tinted glasses. We're done with the dissociation. Because when your life is good, why do you need to dissociate from it? You don't, So if you feel like you need to escape from it because Jupiter, which rules Sag and Pisces. We're just coming out of the age of Pisces. Jupiter is about escape, and so there's so many ways to travel though, because Jupiter is also about travel. So do we need to be escaping or do we need to be traveling? Do we need to be traveling to new horizons, where there's more possibilities instead of staying stagnant, staying stuck in the same place? Do something new, experience something new, find the ways to connect that are right for you. And this season, not only this season, but this era of Uranus being in Gemini for the next 7 years will serve you so beautifully when you allow yourself to tap into the opportunities that this energy is presenting right now. So if you've been holding back, if you've been allowing yourself to feel stuck, it's time to lock in with yourself, but also with your community, with your people. It's that time to align with your tribe. And to align with your tribe, again, you can't be out here just people pleasing. You can't be out here pretending to be someone that you're not, because that will align you with people who are doing the same thing. And then you'll wonder why, things don't really feel right. So this full moon is catalyzing so many beautiful changes. This month of May is really special, really powerful, and I'm excited to see what's created on the world stage, what's created in my community, what's created within me. And hopefully you feel excited too. This is also a very karmic time, and uh, karma's not only a bitch. Karma is a time where you also reap the rewards. You get the fruits of your labor. So if you feel like you're in alignment with the things that I've been talking about, you're good. This is going to be um, a beautiful time for you. So depending on what house you have the moon in, that will determine a lot of how this full moon will affect you. Um, and so check that out. Look at your personal chart and appreciate you for listening to me.